That's right, I finally upgraded. My original Surface Pro, this happy little guy right here, finally got replaced. Not because there's anything wrong with it, but just because I needed something that I can travel with that's going to be a little bit more powerful. I decided that I'm going to need to start editing some videos while I'm on the go, or like a lunch break at my day job or something like that, if I want to continue doing YouTube stuff, because again, I don't really find a whole lot of time at home to do it, so it's like, let me go all in, and get something so I can actually do some editing on the road. The original Surface actually would do a okay job of that, but I wanted something with a bigger screen, as well as something with a little bit more RAM and better processor. So the original Surface Pro that I had been using for the Surface Pro gaming segments is just an Core i5 processor. It tops out at I think like 2.3 or 2.4 gigahertz, 4 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of storage space. So not really much of a powerhouse in terms of a video editing machine. This really isn't either, but it's going to do a better job. So what this is a Surface Pro 3. Yeah, I didn't decide to get a brand new one, mainly because of cost. I was able to find this one as a new old stock unit. So it's a new unit, it's just an old stock. So it's been sitting in a warehouse for a couple years. But it works great. It is a Core i7 processor that can turbo boost up to 3.3 gigahertz. So pretty much about a gigahertz faster than the old one on turbo boost, of course. It's got 8 gigs of RAM and a 512 gigabyte hard drive. So I can definitely store a lot more on it. It still has a micro SD card slot like the other one has, so I can use expandable storage. So the internal hard drive really isn't a big deal in terms of storage, but when video editing, I want to pull the videos off of an SSD versus a SD card, just because it's going to be a lot faster. It'll make the experience a lot better. What experience it also makes better is gaming a little bit, possibly, because the old Surface Pro had a Intel HD 4000 video card. This one has an Intel HD 5000 video card. And when I say video card, I mean it's just integrated graphics built into the processor. But still, you got a 5000 versus a 4000. And is it better? You betcha it's better, but not really by a whole lot. So what I wanted to do for this next episode and this first round with the new guy is I wanted to see if it can run some of the games that brought the other Surface Pro to its knees. And so we're going to look at Dark Souls 3 as well as Resident Evil 7 running on this bad boy and see if it actually makes a difference. I'm going to bet that there will be a little difference, but I bet it's not going to be all that much because neither of those games I feel had performance issues that were related to the CPU. I feel that it was all the graphics card. So I mean, obviously the graphics card isn't up to snuff for either of those games to run properly, but will they be playable? Let's find out. Okay, so we have the resolution on this set at 1024 by 768, and the reason for that is if I switch this down to 800 by 600, which is going to give... God damn it. Okay, it's going to make a liar out of me. When I initially booted this up at 800 by 600, and the reason that I'm selecting this resolution is because this is the only resolution that Dark Souls 3 would actually run at with any sort of playable frame rate on the original Surface Pro, so I wanted to duplicate that. I have quality settings to low. But when I initially started this, it was causing the Elgato to like flicker and flash, and it wasn't a good time. So now it seems to be working. So let's get into the game, and let's see if this will actually play. So continue. I have done some testing, obviously, already. So I do know the answer to this, but now I'll share it with you guys. One thing that the new Surface Pro did not solve, however, is the insanely long time it takes for this game to boot up. On my PC, my desktop, it's great. Boots up great. Surface Pro, Surface Pro 3, both times takes at least 4 or 5 minutes of a black screen before it pops up. So, but here we go. So you can see the counter at the top, 20 some odd frames per second, which dips way on down once you start moving the camera. But one thing that the capture doesn't show, you can see all that screen tearing on the capture. The capture actually looks a lot worse than it does on the actual screen. But it's all squished on the capture, but on the Surface Pro 3 screen, it's actually fills up the entire screen and looks decent, I guess. But yeah, it's not anything you'd really want to play. I wish the screen tearing wasn't so bad on the... You know what? I'm actually going to film just the screen so you can see. That screen tearing is not that big of an issue, really an issue at all on the Surface Pro 3 itself. But what is still an issue on the Surface is the fact that it still stutters and judders, because this is still not the most playable. See, yeah, I already killed him. This is not the most playable frame rate. But if I was on a trip, if I was on a plane or something, and I wanted to play some Dark Souls 3, I actually probably could in some areas. I'm sure there's. Oh, we got ourselves a freeze. Look at that. Look at that. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. If I was on a trip or on a plane or something and I wanted to play Dark Souls 3, F it. Apparently I still can't. So, moving on to Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil 7. Now, here is a game that has its own host of issues on the original Surface. The first one being, we got, what was it, about 7 frames per second? Versus, you know what, actually, let's take it back. Let's watch some footage of the original Surface Pro running this. Cool. It looks like you're playing through like Vaseline smeared glasses. But there's a hole there. Let's fall into the hole. Just because why not? And there you have it. So, not very good, not really playable at all. So, will the Surface Pro 3 fare better? Let's find out. Of course, the menu screen, we get a nice 57 to 58 frames per second here, but I bet that stops once we get into it. So let's go to options real quick, just so I can show you what I'm working with here. You can see the resolution isn't great. But if I go to down to graphics, we got 720 by 480, refresh rate of 60. Yeah, that's okay. That's never going to happen. Display mode, full screen, of course. Field of vision 80, why not? Frame rate, yeah, definitely variable. VSync is on because why not? I'm not going to go past 60. I'm not even going to touch 30, I'm sure. Rendering method, normal versus, whoa. Yeah, let's bring it back to normal. We don't need interlaced. Resolution scaling 1. I'm going to bring this down to a 0.8. Just, you know what? Just to help out a little bit. Oh, good lord. It is getting unreadable here. Let's go to a 0.9. Okay, 0.1. Yeah, we'll try it at okay. We'll try it at a 1-to-1. Anti-aliasing. Can I just take you off? I can't. So we'll just do that. Effects rendering. Wish you could turn that off. Depth of field. Do that off. Shadow. Can I turn shadows off? No, very low. We'll do that. Dynamic shadows off. Shadow cache. Set caching for static shadow. I'll turn that off. Ambient occlusion off. Bloom off. Lit off. Off. None. Reflections off. Off. Let's see. Cinematic aberration, whatever that is, off. Color space, sure. Okay, so we have just about everything off. Let's give this... It's taking a sec. Oh, look at the flickering. Would you look at the flickering? Yeah. Okay, so... sorted. Apparently, Elgato does not like VSync being on when we're running at really low resolutions and a really low frame rate. So that's fixed. All right. I really haven't played around too much with this. I did a little bit, but not a lot. And first off, loading on Resident Evil 7, very, very good on this system. Really fast. What is not really fast is the gameplay. Look at this. 11 frames per second. This is no good. But can we do better? Let's see. What do we have to do? Let's see if we can get it down to... let's try 720 by 480. 17 frames per second. And we're running. Let's go over here. I mean, technically I'm playing it. So, let's see. 30 frames per second. What? That is unheard of. Suagators. Join us? Sure. Let's go. Accept or gift. I may. This I really don't want to say the words "this is okay" or "this is good" because this is not good or okay, but it's running. It is certainly running. Go this way. So, yeah, this is a marked improvement over what it was last time. Now, of course, I do realize this isn't a really fair comparison, just because I was in a different part of the game last time I recorded this, but I ran the same area on the original Surface Pro immediately after purchasing this one, and yeah, this area here we're still looking at like 7 frames per second max, just like we were on the other one. Whoop. There we go. Down here. Now this is something that I would probably actually attempt to play on an airplane or a trip or something. The graphics are, as you can see, but it's actually running fairly smooth-ish. I mean, we're in parts mid-20s up to 30 frames per second. Let's get into this house and see if anything changes at that point. Yeah. Open door. Open it. Yeah, I mean, this is... 40 frames per second? What? What is this, a PlayStation 4? Just kidding, it wouldn't hit 40 frames per second on the PS4. Only because it's locked. I love my PlayStation 4. There we go. Cool. So, now I'm wondering, if I tried Dark Souls 3 with VSync off, I wonder if it's going to show all that screen tearing again like it was. So instead of me filming just the screen, let me try Dark Souls 3 again with VSync off, just for capture purposes. Well, not the most elegant solution, but as it turns out, there isn't a VSync option that I can select. So here it is coming right off of the screen. You can see hairline thinning. You can definitely will be able to see that the screen tearing issue isn't really there. And maybe it won't freeze this time. Maybe it won't freeze. But let's see. Yeah. Alright, well, that didn't freeze it. But here is kind of what I'm talking about in terms of the difference. I'm going to pan this out a little bit. And we are going to... So watch this. Spin around. Everything seems fair. I mean, as smooth as far as screen tearing, not too bad. Let's go over to the monitor. Look at that. That's the same stuff that I was capturing. It is ridiculous. Just the difference there coming through the capture device. And then back over here. Oh, sorry, I bumped it, but still much better. Oh no, it was this guy that froze it last time. I know, I'm onto your games. Yeah, backstab for freeze. Boom. So yeah, there we go. So, all in all, the Surface Pro 3, I did not buy it as a upgrade for gaming. I bought it for better productivity and all that crap that I used to convince myself to buy it. However, I figure it's more powerful than the regular Surface, so will it do gaming better? And yeah, there's a little bit of a increase here, but it's still not going to play these types of games very well. So my recommendation and what I'm going to stick with is, actually I'm going to try to play Resident Evil 7. This, by the way, just I've already played through it twice. May as well play through it a third time. But pretty much any game that came out during the height of the 360 and PS3 era, it could probably play those. But anything that's come out from the Xbox One and PS4 era, and especially like with the new graphics card, that era, yeah, probably not one that's going to run very well on this. However, I'm still going to try them, because you never know. You never know. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope it was halfway interesting for you, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day.